Welcome to Let's Rewatch It Again. I'm Jourdan, and number 25 is my best ever. The quintessence of life, I think. Today we are rewatching The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, the 2013 film directed by and starring Ben Stiller. I'm going to be completely honest. Before this movie, I couldn't stand Ben Stiller. While watching, I became enchanted by him in a way that is almost kind of hard to explain. I ended up relating to Walter and his mundane life immersed in daydreams of adventures he never conceived would be possible. I loved how he hesitated to speak his mind and frequently disappeared into his imagination, only to find the moments around him whooshing by. Secret Life of Walter Mitty is based on a short story of the same name by James Thurber. This film is actually a remake and tells the story of a negative assets manager who decides to travel the world to find the perfect lost picture for the final printing of Life magazine. There's a lot of product placement in this film, along with lots of nostalgia and two handfuls of stars to decorate the cast. Ben Stiller, of course, plays Walter Mitty, with Kristen Wiig playing his coworker and crush. Adam Scott plays his arch nemesis. What? I can't imagine him as a villain, but oh my goodness, he does a great job. Sean Penn plays the part of the illustrious photographer who only trusts Walter with his work. Catherine Hahn and Shirley MacLaine play Walter's sister and mother, and we get cameos from Patton Oswalt and Conan O'Brien. This film has one of my favorite scores by Theodore Shapiro, who also composed The Intern, a movie I already did an episode on. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen when you've got a chance. This score truly captures your heart and whisks you right along with the playful notes and melodic hums. I know, hums. That sounds odd, but it's so peaceful and reassuring and somehow uplifting. Space Oddity by David Bowie and the Escape song, better known as the Pina Colada song, play small roles in this movie that stand out a lot to me, especially because Space Oddity is sung by Ben Stiller, David Bowie, and Kristen Wiig, all throughout different moments in the film. All right, I can't wait anymore. Ground control to Major Tom. It's time to press play. Our movie opens in a really beautiful way of Walter opening his check balancing book, and we're looking down at it in a very flat line against his kitchen table. We get these really beautiful shots of looking through the kitchen door toward him. All of our lines are very linear and square, lots of right angles. The color is very muted, and we have a lot of like white light, which really blows out certain colors and makes them look even more faded. His life is so quiet. Our score has not entered yet because he's quiet. He's very introspective type of a character. And he opens eHarmony to find Cheryl, his coworker and crush. He sees her likes, her sister, mystery novel, dislikes, sister, internet dating, and things that you should know about her. She has one of those three-legged dogs and a child, in parentheses, two-legged. Oh, she's cute and witty. I like her. He tries, and I say tries, he holds his finger over the keyboard to press wink, to send her a wink through eHarmony. And he gets up from his chair. He can't handle it. He like goes to a different part of the room, and we get this beautiful shot of like this old looking stereo, records, books. Everything is so rectangular and square and very flat. He gets up and he tries to go back to the computer. He clicks send the wink, and the computer does that sound because it's unable to perform request. What? He's also working on a Dell computer while eating cereal. And I love that his life is so simple. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I don't think that Walter is sad. I don't see him as a sad character. I just see him as a quiet and withdrawn person who lives a very rich inner life. He leaves his apartment, and we get this beautiful like paneling shot of down his long white hallway with the fluorescent lights and walking to like a metro station above ground. And we get this really cool above bird's eye view of all like the lines of New York City like crossing one another and the moving cars. And we have this huge wide shot of where he's sitting on a wooden bench talking to eHarmony customer service about why it's not working. And the guy on the other end, his name is Todd. And he's like, well, it kind of looks like you don't have anything on your profile. And he's like, yeah, I didn't really know what to put. He's like, well, have you been anywhere or done anything? We close in on Walter's face as his eyes shift back and forth while he talks. And he's like, well, I haven't really been anywhere or done anything noteworthy. And Todd's like, really? Okay, well, you got to help me out here, man. Have you done anything, really something? We zoom in close to Walter's face and all of our color changes. All of a sudden, we've got a golden sunlight on his face. As he's running, the camera moves with him. He is running into the camera and the camera whooshes back. It's a really cool way of showing that this is his daydream. This is so not happening. He's running as he hears the dog barking. He jumps over the rail through the air, crashes through a window of a red brick building, and the camera zooms to the entrance of the building as he runs out carrying a small dachshund as the building explodes. Cheryl runs toward him on the street wearing a beautiful red flower dress with a jean jacket. He hands her her three-legged dog and then says, hey, I saved Chips. And here, look, I invented this leg thing for him. It's got a padded pelvic belt. And she's like, you're so noteworthy. And he goes, well, I just live by the, and then the building explodes further behind him. And we hear, hey, guy. He's like, and then we see that his train is disappearing as he puts the phone back to his ear. We're kind of midway between daydream and real life. We've got our golden yellow light from one side that's slowly whitening, and all the linear lines are back as he runs to try to get to work on time. I love our opening credits. We've got these beautiful wavy lines of red, blue, yellow, and green, and those all fade to gray. And all of these like people in black suits and, business formal are climbing out of like where the metro comes up from underground. Sorry, I've been to New York City exactly one time. I know what everything is called. Subway. That's it. Subway. Hello. What I think is really interesting about our office of the Life magazine is that the creators, Ben Stiller specifically, wanted to create a timeless, but also like a past feeling. So they actually designed it after the offices in the 50s and 60s. So everyone's got those like black suits with like the skinny, shorter ties. And Walter is actually wearing like a gray beige kind of suit jacket. And I actually really like it because I think it sets him apart, but in a way that makes him seem colorless, whereas everyone else seems to fit in. And I love that. It kind of isolates him in a different way with just the smallest detail of the color of his jacket. He runs into a coworker and finds out that they've been taken over and that there's a new boss in town. And then Catherine Hahn shows up looking so quirky with a huge side curly ponytail, cat glasses, and she's got like this like little scarf around her neck, and she's saying that she has an audition for Rizzo and that she has to go, but happy birthday. And she hands him the clementine cake. Oh my gosh, it's their mother's secret recipe. I actually looked it up one time. It looks amazing. You use a dozen clementines in this recipe. I thought you were supposed to be helping mom move into the retirement home. And she's like, I am. Everything's going great, but I have to go to my audition. So you have to finish up. And he's like, I can't. I have to go to work. And she's like, what? I have to be Rizzo. She's tough and tender. Walter goes to the elevators where two of his coworkers are now talking about how the Life magazine is going to become more like a .com. They're not going to print things anymore. And one of them goes, I wonder how all this is going to play out. And then a man behind them whirls around and says, I think I can tell you. Oh my God, it's Adam Scott looking very Seneca Crane from The Hunger Games, the first book and movie. This beard on him literally makes him look like a villain. It is so excellent. Whoever decided he needed this inky black beard, genius, absolute genius. And he is like the most obnoxious, snarky, like smirky guy. Oh my God. If I didn't adore Adam Scott, I would literally want to peel off my own skin just talking to this guy. We find out he is Ted Hendricks, the managing director of The Transition. Walter's colleagues introduce themselves with their job titles. They all seem very much like a little stiffer, standing up a little straighter, like, okay, this is the guy that decides our fates. And then Ted looks at Walter and says, "What about you, cake man?" And I just have to say that I am so Walter. Walter and my personality are very close together, especially when it comes to anxiety and getting thrown off by someone kind of like just being a little too forward. And Walter's like, "Well, the thing is, and I actually, so they all move together to get in the elevator." And he's like, "The cake is just a today thing. It's not, I don't usually have cake. Well, and then as he's stumbling to come up with how to explain what he does, and Walter gets so nervous that he says, "I deal dirkly." And Ted goes, "Oh, really? Dirkly? Hold on, I stopped listening to you. I'm getting to the song real quick." And he looks up and we hear the Mind Over Matter song in the elevator. And we close in on Walter's face and we see the color deepen a little bit because we're in a daydream. And he says, "Actually, what I was going to say, you know who looks good in a beard? Dumbledore, not you." And the two colleagues behind him start cackling and heckling. Then we snap back into a cold light with a still camera as Ted is saying, "Guy, guy." And the colleagues behind him are just watching to like, "Are you going to say anything?" Because that was all in his head. You know what? I do it too, Walter. I do it too.